Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to our first seminar of the day. The seminar itself is about breakthrough in digital content management and workflow automation. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. First of all, Andrea Di Muzio, who is Director of Professional Services EMEA for Aspera. Next to him, Ed Sylvester, who's Head of Video Platform for Perform Group. And next to him, Adam Smith, who is a Workflow Integration Engineer, also for Perform Group. So I believe I'm handing over to Andrea first.
It's actually you first.
Is it me first?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ed.
You can tell we've rehearsed this brilliantly, can't you? Good morning, thank you for coming. It's pretty early, actually, for a Saturday after the night before at Friday. So well done for turning up. Let me take you through who Perform is. Perform's a company who I agree you may not have heard of. We are quite a large company. We're in the FTSE 250 company. We are involved in sports media. You may not have heard of us from the TV side of your life, but you might have come across us if you're a sports fan. So if you watch a lot of football, we're quite big in the UK and football space, but we're quite global, and we're in most countries now. We've got 26 global offices, and we stream a large amount of live events. The best way of describing Perform is, in my mind, like a machine, and it's a big machine with a funnel on the top, and the ingredients go into the machine, and the ingredients that we use is really sporting rights. So Perform buys rights to broadcast and rights to stream, and then out of the machine come different kinds of products. And the product we're going to talk about today, or the group of products, is going to be our video-on-demand products. There's a large number of these. We stream something like 4.5 billion streams. We're the second biggest consumer of bandwidth in the US as a sport broadcaster. The brands you might come across possibly would be Sporting News in the US. You'd come across us in newspapers like Daily Mail and the New York Times. There's a video player in a lot of newspapers where you can click and find out like a carousel of VOD, of sports news. A lot of that comes from Perform. The brand you might come across is ePlayer. Also, if you're involved in sports news, you may well be a partner which takes our syndicated products. We deliver a news file, which is we have two different types. There's the ready, which is a completely finished product that you can put straight to air, and the uncut version that you can create your own kind of content for. It's a big company growing at an unruly pace. And I've sat in many seminars, as you are now, and I've listened to people talking about their platforms, and I've thought what they're saying doesn't really apply to me in my case, because my case is more chaotic than what that chap's describing. My case is more complicated than what that chap's describing. It doesn't work for me. And I want to try and today explain some of the problems that Perform's had, some of the challenges that we've come across, and how we've used Aspera to overcome those problems. And hopefully try and show you some real-world situations and some real-world problems that we've had to overcome.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Andrea from Aspera. I'm going to drive you to a little bit the background of Aspera, what we do, and how we help it perform in the first place. Aspera is a US-based company founded in San Francisco about 10 years ago. Now we are part of IBM. Our main technology has been the transfer protocol, which is called FASP, which probably most of you don't see, but it's actually really behind every asset that you have access today. We move assets all around the world 24/7 at high speed. This is the best way I have to describe the basic of our technology for the transfer part, which is no matter where you are, no matter how far you are from where you want to send your file, we're going to send it at maximum speed. No matter what the packet loss is, we're going to adapt and be very resistant to that packet loss. Okay? So the reason why today you can have assets produced anywhere in the world and then sent around for subtitling, for transcoding, wherever it makes sense, is because we were able to skip and fix the major issue of TCP, which is it doesn't scale when it goes a long distance, especially over the internet. We have a set of products. I'm not gonna go into that, but just to give you an idea of how we can help and how we helped in this specific case, we really we built our company from bottom up. We started with a basic technology that is proprietary to us, that has been unbeaten so far, and we built applications on top of it. And one of these applications is our workflow automation system, which we will go through some of the utilization that have been done today. The really main benefit of our application in this case is the capability of talking to a lot of several third-party systems. So as you can see, there are a lot of transcoding vendors we already integrate with, and we are able to automate their process.
I think explosive growth in size describes Perform quite accurately. It's been an absolute ballistic journey for the people who started Perform. I'd quickly describe the transcoding platform and its genesis. So I think it probably started around 6 years ago, and they built it around a flip factory. And I think there was somebody came into the office and said, right, we need to create some VOD files for a client. It's going to be a great new service. And we'll need to write some software to create a way of ingesting this content into our CMS, and then write some more software to syndicate it and send it around to these different clients. So the developing team, which was quite a large number of people, sat down and they wrote this stuff, because not that many years ago, products like Aspera Orchestrator just wasn't there. I mean, now you have all kinds of FLIMS companies who develop workflow solutions. But a few years ago, you had to write everything yourself. So they wrote their first solution based around Flip Factory, and it worked fine. And then it became very popular, so they had to buy some more Flip Factories because the workload got higher and higher. Then somebody invented an iPhone, and suddenly you had to create an awful lot more formats. Suddenly we found ourselves developing, adding more and more capabilities to the platform, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and our scale solution was to just add more and more and more CPU. And you got to a point when you weren't actually increasing in speed, you were just increasing complexity. And when you increase complexity to a critical amount, you get problems. So the scale of Perform, as well as being good news for one side, for the commercial guys, the shareholders, for people on the technical side like me and Adam, bit of a nightmare. The problems were absolutely enormous. We had iPad formats, we had smart TVs, we had legacy streams, legacy formats, flash formats still. We had emerging markets in Africa and in India who wanted to watch their beloved football teams, but on older devices. We couldn't drop them. We're producing something in the region of 70 to 100 different file types from a single event. And we're doing, I saw earlier, a lot of events. So the model of just adding more and more and more CPU muscle really wasn't working. As well as that, going back to the analogy of the machine, of the Perform machine, the writes going in and more products coming out, we found that offices somewhere else in the world, some other Perform office somewhere in the world, would invent a new product. And they would send a video file with the necessary instructions to make the right kind of content for their customers. And they could quite easily break the platform because it could be enormous. And this happens, I can think of a story very recently, where we get a full match of a 90-minute match in HD to be made into 100 different formats to be distributed around the world, and the whole platform just sits there and just has to just churn through it. That left the whole platform really quite exposed to over-eager and over-efficient salesmen doing their job too well. We weren't always informed as a technical team what was coming up, what was around the corner, what might happen. So we had to figure out a way of managing this platform better, putting in some safeguards and creating some technical goals. So these were the goals that we set ourselves, really to improve the basic management of the platform. You can't just throw things at it anymore. We have to have some kind of control about what we send to it. We were finding that we could have file types which were corrupt or illegal in some way. They'll go into the system, break the system, and there's nothing we could do about it. Greater scale and efficiency, being able to be more efficient in what we do is the key. Scale is simply a question of having more of it, but efficiency is something we'll come back to in a minute. And increase our file delivery capacity, because it's not going to get any less. It's only going to get a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. Support is a big issue, particularly, again, around capacity. One of our major problems is Saturday afternoon, when we are very, very busy. We have a huge amount of football coming in on a Saturday afternoon. Monday morning, a little bit less so. So being able to handle these sudden spikes is very, very important to us. Being able to monitor and automate queues, very important as well. If we can monitor our queues, then our support teams are better informed to talk back to our clients. So if somebody submitted a file from Brazil for the World Cup, and they're watching their website, waiting to see that syndicated file appear, they want to know where it is, they can get in contact to our support desk, they can look it up, and they can see where it is and get a proper support information. Automating queues is a very big deal, and I think we'll see some more of that later on in some of the real-world workflows. Reduced support in general is a massive deal, because we were having so many problems with our transcoding platform, so many different faults and failures, basically through it being unmanaged, that one of the reasons for us managing it is to just reduce the cost of supporting it. And automatic problem resolution, I hope to show you an example in a moment of that, where if there is a problem, we can tell the editor or tell the person who submitted that file some really useful information that they can use to resolve it. Whereas in the past, we would just process it. It would get into the queue, it would process it, it would get submitted, it would get put onto syndication. People would look at it and go, oh, the audio's all wrong. We can catch those things now and manage it much better. Some of these things sound kind of basic, but I go back to what I said earlier. We're coming from a position of trying to improve on an existing platform. It's a well-established platform. It's big. It's been developed and tightly integrated with the CMS side. So this is not something we just bought off the shelf. We developed it ourselves. We built it. We grew it, and it wouldn't grow any further. So some of the problems that we're coming up against are just those real-world complexities that hopefully you'll realize we do come up against quite often. Sometimes in these seminars, everything sounds so glossy and clean and perfect, and the real world isn't quite that friendly. So we've looked at many solutions, and it was about 2 years ago I sat down with Bruce and Andrea, and they gave us a demonstration of Orchestrator, and Adam and I were pretty smitten with it straight away. We could see how we could use that to fix some of our problems. We installed a server cluster, making the whole Aspera server a very highly available solution. We also added it with our existing Aspera FASP cargo server. We were already using that for our syndication. And having Orchestrator involved as well, it just makes it even more powerful. Another little sideline on that is when you submit something to perform, it will just go into our FTP server. It gets picked up and goes through our transcoding platform. Now it comes in via Aspera. It goes into the Orchestrator. We know who you are. We know what you've done. We know everything about you. We can start creating data. We can start to create KPIs based on you as a user. It's a very useful tool for us. Right. On ingestion or on demand, content transcoding to multiple delivery format based on customer profile. Right. So we have two ways of ingesting content, well, more than two ways of ingesting content into Perform. One way is that you could just drop it into our FTP or via an Aspera upload. We know nothing about you. Obviously, you have access to those locations. You're trusted. But we don't know anything about the file at this stage. Or you could be working within Perform's editing infrastructure and post-production infrastructure, and you could be submitting it through our Avid platform or through our Dalet platform, which is our second editing system. We have two different platforms that we submit from. Directs the right content to the right transcoding farm. So when you submit something, we need some kind of instruction to understand who that client is and what kind of formats they want. So from Avid, we've written our own piece of software that enables us to, for the editor, to say, I've edited something, this is what it's called, and this is who the client is. And the back end knows who those clients are and what formats they require. And that information is saved with the file and submitted to the system with the file in XML. When they submit via FTP or Aspera, I'll let Adam show you a little bit more about that in a moment. We manage transcodes via a weight queue based on duration, content, priority, and target format. This is a big change for us. What we used to have is just a weight queue. You just waited. Didn't matter who you were or what you gave us, you just had to wait your turn. It simply came through, first one in was the first one out. If you were a very small file that was going to take, for a bit of news, that we wanted to have like some breaking news about some football signing, you can tell I'm not a massive football fan, I don't know the right terminology, but some football news comes along and you want to get that on your website straight away, you can't because there's a huge 90-minute file in front of you. There was no way for us to manage that. It was just first in, first out. Now we can prioritize you based on the type of content you are. So if you're a full match VOD, we might put you lower down the queue. If you're breaking news, you might have higher priority and you'll go through fast. Oh, so I was mentioning also target format. With a big platform, you might find you have a variety of different types of transcoding. So you might have one particular piece of hardware which is specialized for a certain type of encoding. You might have, give you a good example, going back to Flip Factory, we've got a large number of flips, some of which will have very expensive broadcast licenses on to create a particular file type for broadcasters. The other flips maybe wouldn't have those same licenses. By using Aspera, we can make sure that we can send the right kind of file to the right kind of transcoder. And that's had a massive effect on the cost of our transcoding platform, where we used to have to make sure that every single Flip Factory had exactly the same amount of licenses on them. Now we can say, well, look, we're not doing that many Avid or ProRes. We just need to have maybe 3 machines with that license, as opposed to 25 machines with that license. So it's a huge cost saving there for us as well. The platform automatically produces, verifies, and delivers transcoded assets. Verifies, that's a massively important step for us as well. Verifying it both on the ingest, making sure what we're taking in is valid, having a look at what we've created, making sure that's valid, and then submitting it. It seems incredibly basic to be saying that to professionals, but with an industry like ours, where you tend to scale things and grow with legacy, it's easy to find these bits very hard to plug in afterwards without doing some major rewriting to your workflows. If the content does not match supported format, an operator is informed and can manually route content to the right transcoding process. Yeah, so if there's some kind of unexpected criteria, we can make sure that we can either decide to accept that, reject it, or accept it knowing that there's a problem with it, which happens, it's a real world, it comes up sometimes. If a transcoding does fail, the failure is analyzed and automatically retried. Only if it makes sense. Otherwise, a submitter or a support team is informed and the failure with a detailed error message. You'll see one of these in a moment. So if you're an editor and you've made some basic error, we should be able to pick that up and tell you what you've done wrong. And hopefully the editor can then go back and fix his own problem. Massive cost saving again. We've not failed our SLA, we've not failed to our clients, and we've not taken any costs from the support teams. And trying to keep all these things away from the support teams is another major way of us saving money. I like this one a lot. If our queue is too busy, Saturday afternoon, we've got all the football going on, suddenly somebody in Buenos Aires office, I didn't blame them on purpose, there's nothing wrong with the Buenos Aires team, they're a great bunch, but just saying them, if they took some content and dropped it onto our platform at that critical moment, in the past, we would just sag and die. Now we can have alternatives. We can start to engage with third parties, and we can start to push content out to the cloud and start to use them to encode on our behalf. There's plenty to choose from. There's encoding.com, there's Elemental, there's Zencoder. We're talking to all these guys, and by having this orchestrator in the middle between our transcoding hardware and our CMS enables us to plug anybody we like in between. And I really like that. I mean, if we'd got our orchestration layer from the same vendor as our transcoding platform, we might not have quite so much flexibility. Aspera means we're not tied in with a single vendor. We can choose who we want to work with. We can have pretty much any transcoder we want and any third-party transcoder we want. Again, there's cost savings there as well. I'll quickly talk you through this fabulous-looking drawing. At the very top there, we've got the Aspera cluster. We've got both the console and the orchestrator monitoring all the services. Over here, we've got our ingest. I mentioned ingest can be from an external partner who's been gathering some VOD assets, he's edited it, and he's dropped it into our Aspera node, or it could be our Avid editing system, or it could be our Dalet media asset manager. It arrives into our transcoding platform. It's now being monitored by Aspera. The orchestrator is now monitoring our Aspera node, and it's now monitoring our transcoding side. So all the information that was submitted with the original file is now being managed by Aspera. Hands off for all the actual operators. In the past, in the old days, we had to have operators at this stage, again, more cost, manually deciding exactly where the file should go, manually getting involved with the system. Now it's all taken care of by Aspera. If we want to at this stage, we can make that call, that option to say, right, we now need to prioritize this, and we're going to push it into the cloud. That is actually a picture of a cloud transcoding platform such as encoding.com. Looks a bit like a sort of large toaster, but apparently that's what you've drawn. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And the last stage, of course, going into our syndication server. We understand who you are and what you wanted, and now it's our job to make sure you get that. And the most efficient way for us to do that is via the Aspera Cargo or Aspera
Fastbacks.
Fastbacks, sorry.
I'll
And
just one minute. Just want to say one thing about this one. As Ed was saying, Orchestrator is really managing the business logic of what they do in a very clever and business-driven manner. But I just want to make the point that this is an end-to-end solution because it allows you to, at one point, decide I can actually go and do it on the cloud. I don't have to worry about moving my asset because using Aspera, you can move your asset from in-house storage directly to S3 at very high speed, something that wasn't happening before. If you would think about having 100 gigabyte content, and in order to do the transcoding, you have to FTP it to the cloud. Probably when you are done FTPing, that content is already old and you don't need it anymore. So the only reason why this is today possible is because you have the possibility to for Aspera platform to automate the transfer of your asset from your local on-premise storage to the cloud at very high speed, do the transcoding there, and download it at very high speed again. So yet, really in a matter of, I wouldn't say real time, but in a matter of maybe half real time, you get the file back into your local storage. And this is fully automated. So for you, and especially for Perform in this case, this is completely transparent. It's a business decision logic that is implemented in the workflow engine, but it's completely transparent to the editor that submits the job.
I don't know if I've gone on enough about the scale of Perform, and the complexity of this. I think I've probably glossed over it, but it's a very complicated beast of a system, and This is my quote. This is very true. Good. I'm glad I said this. This pretty much sums up why I've bothered to come out here and sort of support Aspera today, because it's made such a difference to Perform. It's been a very good decision. It was only about 2 years ago we first started the conversation with Aspera. I think we first installed the actual live production, high availability servers, what about 8 months ago? Something like that, maybe a little bit less, perhaps. Not that long ago, still very new. We started to migrate individual workflows onto the new platform very, very gradually. We've now got a large percentage now being managed by Aspera. Give you a real-world scenario problem we had very, very recently. A huge number of big files suddenly appeared on the system. We weren't able to deliver those files because of the particular problem with what they'd sent us. It's the real world, guys. It happens. We had a large number of stuff, and in the past, that would have broken Perform completely. All the products, the machine, the big machine, all the writes going in, it'd have been dead. But thanks to Aspera, that one product they sent us, we were able to isolate it. All the other products carried on working. The platform was not affected. And I can solely put that down to the fact that we put Aspera in those 8 months earlier. And that Adam had developed it, of course. It's not, he did a good job, as you'll see in a minute. So we've gone from being a very intensive, staff-intensive, labor-intensive, very expensive operation to something far more relaxed and laid back. We're a little bit more chilled as a company. We can manage things a bit better. Hopefully our clients will like us a bit more because we will deliver our news on time, in the right formats, with less mistakes, with less errors. Hopefully my boss will like me because I'm able to deliver the technological solution at a lower cost with less support overheads. In other words, thanks very much for that, Andrea. That was me, and now I'm more like that, which is great. So my key benefits, the things that really have happened. Orchestrator scales fluidly and reliably for the extreme processing required by Perform during peak demand. Nailed it. With fast transfers, being able to move things from clients and to clients using the accelerated delivery mechanisms that Aspera is most well known for. Completely nailed that. Priority management, being able to say that a piece of work is more or less important than another piece of work, fundamental to what's happened to us recently. Scale out to the cloud. We can relax a little bit. If things go wrong, and they will go wrong, and they do go wrong, we have a plan B. It's often quite expensive, but we can at least deliver content. We always meet our obligations to our customers on time. And reliability, removing human error, and making it more efficient for editors to solve their own problems without involving support teams. Efficient, you see, I said that one. Handles conditional decision-making as dictated by the customer service level agreements. Absolutely true. An industry first for heterogeneous file transcoding. That could be true or false, I don't know, because I'm not completely sure what that word means. And we have integrated monitoring, absolutely. We have full tracking and reporting. We can go backwards in time. We can see who did what to whom. We've got a massive amount of data being gathered by Aspera, so we can always look backwards and see how fast something was. We can go back and draw graphs and see exactly how our performance was. We can then use that data to help us in our capacity planning for the future. If we know after a couple of years, if I can come back in a couple of years' time and say that after 2 years' work using Aspera, we've been able to trend our growth, find out exactly what our growth is like and the key moments in time that we're going to need to reinvest in the platform, then this is really powerful stuff for us. Monitor the entire life cycle of content. And faster problem resolution, I've mentioned already. We have a number of different dashboards developed. Hopefully we can show you some examples of those. Allow users to see how their files are going. We could also allowing our global support desk to see a big picture a very high view that everything is healthy, everything's working okay. We look forward to be able to extend this perhaps to the client as well. It'd be very useful for us to allow the client to have a dashboard view of what exactly is going on. And automatically processing errors and letting people know. So a lot of notifications and automation carries on in the background. So there's my results. This support growing demand for video content, improve ability to support SLAs, and reduce support burden and costs. Yeah, we've pretty much covered all those off, and it's allowed us to match the goals that I showed you earlier. And yeah, I'm very pleased with what we've been able to achieve with Aspera.
Take it up from here, if you want.
I'm going to let you talk about that because it's technical for me. And maybe use Adam.
I will definitely use Adam. I will just take 1 minute. First of all, thank you so much. The 1 minute I'm going to take before passing this over to Adam, which will talk to you about the process of building this, which the good thing and what I've been pleased to work with Perform as an Aspera partner has been that what you will see, it's extremely easy. And that was the goal. It's an extremely easy to manage platform for editors, for contributors, for the support people. The only guy for which this platform is really complex is that one. The one that wrote this entire platform, that designed it, that thought about it, that solved the problems. But now it's a platform that is 100% self-sufficient and robust. And nobody have to worry about it. And actually everybody thinks it's simple. Yeah. Right. And that has really been a pleasure for me as a technology partner to work with Perform. What you see here should give you an idea of what the complexity of managing the transcoding jobs at Perform is. And when Ed before said, I'm not sure if this is actually the first example of fully automated transcoding platform that supports n numbers of transcoding engines. I'm pretty sure it is. And that's why we're presenting it now. And that's why I'm a big fan of this platform. Because I think this is unique. From an editor point of view, they don't know which transcoding platform has been used. Whether this was Flip Factory, ProCarbon, on the cloud, they don't know because they don't care. What they care about is, I have my raw material, I want to deliver it in the right format, which in the case of Perform is, I have my raw material and I need those 100 target format. That was a very scary number for me the first time we actually talked, because a little side story, Ed made this very streamlined. It wasn't really like that. You came to me and said, oh yeah, we have transcoders. I have a content and I need to transcode them. And then it's only when I first met Adam, he told me, well, it's actually one content and 100 target formats per origin content. Over a farm of 100 Flip Factories. And that is the scale of this platform. So I'm not going to, of course, drive you through this. Adam will show you some of the things that we have done. What I want to show you is more the result of it. That's what counts more. Because this is the back. This is the engine. This is what this guy has done. And this is the result. Very clear. You see exactly what is going on the system. You see the priorities, you see the queue, you see what the Flip Factories are doing. Again, this is a live system, and as you can see from the bar, we're not at the top or at the bottom yet. It just didn't fit the screen anymore. This is normal day at Perform. And nobody is actually swearing about it anymore. As Ed said, there are errors sometimes in the material that they receive, and somebody that's not here, I hope he was, taught me something once. If you have to fail, fail soon. No kidding. That's the best thing that happened to you. On ingest, you don't want to go to the entire transcoding and then send it to somebody and have maybe a 3-point check in order to see, oh, this content doesn't have audio. You want to do it right away. On ingest, that's what this workflow does. On ingest, the first thing that we do is we check, does it match the format? And what if it doesn't match the format? Should we just throw it away? Well, probably not, because it might be a very important content, because we might not have the time to produce it again. We just want to accept what we have, even though it's not great, because we need it. And now an editor has the possibility to do that. And this is what I love, and this is all this man work. If something goes wrong, you don't just get a message that says, oh, something went wrong. Now you go and figure it out. You actually get what is called an orchestrator advice. The QuickTime reference file has been exported with audio that does not match the general audio duration of the media. The video and the audio duration should match when being exported. You need to make sure there are no parts of the exported audio tracks with no audio. Even I could actually do it, even though I don't understand anything about video. I could actually go back and fix it. And this is the benefit. This is reducing support to the minimum. This is really lowering the stress of supporting the platform and making sure the end user, the editors, the producers, they are aware of what's going on. They get conscious of what they need to do in order to make it better. So this is for Perform. What really matters to me? What really matters to Aspera? What is our company philosophy? It might be a little bit boring for you. It's not for me. It's this. The editors. These are quotes from Perform editors. And this is Richard Canham, news desk editor. Since its introduction at the end of 2013, Orchestrator has provided us with a smooth and trouble-free ingest management solution. That's what mattered to me. And this is his entire quote. This is really what mattered to us. This is Aspera. And if you check one of those quotes, I'm not going to read it out loud. I think it makes some sense. You can all read. But it is really a pleasure when you work so hard. And I know how many nights we've been at the phone with Adam trying to figure out how to do things better. And at the end of the day, it actually works. And it actually matters to somebody. You actually help somebody to make his life better. And one of the quotes, we have a couple of other quotes from Charlotte, and one that I really liked is that before they had this system in place, basically ingesting and making sure everything was working was 80% of the time, of 80% of a senior staff editor job. And right now, they don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, it's as simple as dragging and dropping all video files into one place. And we know they will arrive. And if they don't arrive, we receive an email. Yeah, that's pretty cool, I would say. Well, she said it's been fantastic. I think it's pretty cool. And really is the value. That's what we, as a company, we want to provide. We want to provide high value to our customer, both in the transfer, in the automation, in the consulting activity that we do, in designing, and in believing in ideas. That's very important. I'll let now Adam talk, but it's really believing in an idea. I remember when we first discussed, I don't know who was the craziest between the two of us, quite honestly. But it was you proposing it, or me saying, yeah, we can probably do it. We believed in it, and we actually did it. It's now live. It works. And again, in my opinion, this is the only example that on today's market we have of a platform that can scale to any transcoding vendor that you want, to any number of assets you can throw it in. It will, well, that's what Adam said. Last week they had enormous ingest. And at one point somebody was kind of complaining. Well, the point is, it will get there. You don't have to worry about it. It might take a little bit longer than what you expect, just because we have maybe 2,000 hours of video to transcode, but you don't have to worry. You know it will get there.
Here we go.
You want to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, so where was that picture? Go back.
Oh, no, Adam, just go. There are more.
Oh,
there are
right,
more.
it was forward.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. When we first put the system in, it was more about how we make a workflow. We don't want to make a workflow for every single client we have. We need to make a workflow that adapts for every client. I don't want to have to bring a new client in and then make a whole new workflow. They should just fit into this one. So there's a lot of variables that go on and a lot of decision making. Everything these guys have been talking about, they're not decisions that somebody has to make. The system makes all the decisions about whether the file's acceptable, whether it should be transcoded on which platform, if it needs to go to the cloud or if it should stay in-house. They're all automated decisions. There's no user intervention in any of them. Parts, I would say most of it was just started off with, all about just taking the file in and transcoding it, and then as you go through is adding more and more complexity to deal with the kind of errors we were seeing on a daily basis. Stuff like user error. We never intended to make the user orchestrator basically now takes all of the second line support that used to go straight down to the support team. So if an editor had a problem, they didn't investigate why they had the problem. They would just go and speak to the support team. The support team would then investigate how the editor's done the job, what they've exported, what they're trying to make, and then find out what the problem is. With Orchestrator in place, Orchestrator knows what you should have sent it. So it can then tell the editor straight away where they've gone wrong and how to improve it. That's enabled the support teams to really support the equipment and not the users, which has freed them up, freed more of their time up to deal with more pressing matters. What you can see is on these workflows is you have an overview workflow, but you can build sub-workflows in there and use them like Lego pieces. So once you've made like a validation workflow, you can just pull that in to as many different workflows as you like, and you've only got to change it in one place, and then you change it throughout your workflows. You're not redoing work all the time, so it's a very efficient way of creating a workflow, and you know exactly what you're going to get out. So with this workflow, this one was literally just to take the file, work out what we need. When we take, obviously we do a lot of long form content and short form content. We don't prioritize the long form content as a low priority. It can still have a high priority. We just limit the amount of long content that's allowed on our platform at once. So we don't saturate our platform with 2-hour transcodes. We will allow the resources to run at 100% CPU while still allowing a couple of free slots. So if any short jobs come in, they can jump straight on and they can transcode straight away. That's really cut down on a lot of our delays that we had, because it wasn't a delay to the transcode. There was just too many long jobs in the way. By holding them back, but still allowing them to have a high priority, we really cause the throughput to increase massively. We get a lot more transcodes done in the time on the same amount of transcode servers than we did previously. So that's what this one's all about. And I say, if you go through, this is where we actually do the transcode. It started off with just a couple of steps, and it was just, hey, create the XML, give it to the Flip Factory, and then you end, basically. And then we went on to add all these different steps. They're trying to solve real problems that occur every day. So we have the ability to check every single file just to make sure that it hasn't been corrupted during transcode. And then once that's through, we check to make sure exactly what the error is. Depends how we're going to resolve the error. When we try and give the job to a Flip Factory now, if we can't reach that transcode server, we'll get a return message. And that message might be that the server is completely unreachable or the service is down. That message is passed straight on to the support team. The the server gets quarantined, so no more jobs are sent to that server. That all happens automatically. The jobs are routed around that server, and the support teams are alerted to exactly what server's got the problem, what the problem is, and how to resolve the issue. They don't have to go and look it up anywhere. The information is presented to them by Orchestrator, and that's for the range of different errors you can get for each transcode vendor. It's not specific to a particular type. We also found that sometimes you can get jobs that take a little while and they might be frozen, and that will cause jobs to hang and delays to be done. So we added another step which works out how long it should take on that particular machine, and then if it's not done within that time, the support team's just alerted that there might be an issue. Just have a look and decide where to go. That stops problems before they turn into delays, so we can get in there early and the user support team can actually have an idea of what they're looking for. But yeah, that's pretty much about the strength of it, really. It's just going through.
So, thank you so much to Perform for having helped us in providing this panel today. It's been an honor for me to work with them, to really believe in what at the time seemed a dream. We believed in it, we made it, it's now real. And that, at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. We've got 5 or so minutes. If anyone